Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is number 355, We Lift Our Heart in Thanks, from the Gray Hymnal. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but with your masks on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 355, We Lift Our Heart in Thanks.
We lift our hearts in thanks today for all the gifts of life, and first for peace that turns away the enmities of strife, and next the beauty of the earth, its flowers and lovely things. The spring's great miracle of earth with sound of songs and wings, and harvests of its teeming soil in orchard, croft, and field, but more the service and the toil of those who help them yield, and most the gifts of hope and love, of wisdom, truth, and might, the gifts that shine like stars above to chart the world by night.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Grace Preuss, a member of the worship committee, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the worship committee you will hear from include Alec Peck, who will be leading us in our hymns in the video, and Bonnie McFarland, who will be speaking to us today. We are also glad to have Waylon, who is also leading us in our hymns this morning. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. Welcome to the first day of 2023. It's a brand new year of fresh beginnings, new experiences, connections, and challenges. In the year ahead of us, we will have more opportunities to discover and enjoy our own humanity with the help of our spiritual community. So welcome to the first day of fellowship in 2023. We are glad you are here. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over. So while we are in the sanctuary, please keep your masks on while singing, and remember to take personal responsibility to keep one another safe. Before we move into the service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all of this information, and it is also available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and per request by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy or something that you'd like to contribute, please email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. Due to a recent COVID emergency, our first Sunday luncheon has been rescheduled for January 8th. The theme is soups. Contributions are appreciated and will be donated to the church fund. The Concerned UUs of Riverside, CUUR, the community outreach arm of the Social Environmental Justice Committee, will be meeting in the Social Justice Room on the second floor of the annex at 11:30. You can find more information on the website under Social and Environmental Justice. Now we'd like to take the opportunity to give some holiday appreciation to all the people, the volunteers who helped us during the season. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all the volunteers who generously offered their valuable time and talents to the Festival of Lights fundraiser that was held from November 25th to December 24th. Special thanks go out to Kate Lewicki, Linda Van Boris, Adam Wedeking, and Avery Burrows, who spearheaded the effort. We would also like to express our appreciation to everyone who participated in the community potluck lunch on December 25th. Thank you to all of you who contributed to the delicious meal. And special thanks go out to Robert Brown for his principal role in coordinating the event. Thank you, everyone. The Lunar Fest book sale. The Lunar Fest book sale will be held on Saturday and Sunday, January 28th and 29th. We are looking for volunteers to help set up on Friday, January 27th, both before and after the noon board meeting, and to help at the sale. Please see Kate or Linda to sign up. Church Council. Church Council will meet on the second Friday of the month in the annex. The next meeting will be at 4 p.m. on January 13th. Dinner series. The Asian dinner the Asian dinner theme will be served on January 21st at 5:30 in the parish hall. Tickets are $25 for adults, $12 for kids, and kids 5 and under are free. We hope to see you there. This concludes our announcements for today. And now I invite you to sit back and take a slow, deep breath as we move into the worship hour. You are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Our speaker today is UUCR member Bonnie McFarland. Bonnie said she first attended a UU church when she was 20 years old and knew she was home. She became a member of UUCR in 1996, soon after moving to Riverside, and has been active in the Social Justice Committee from its inception. Bonnie said that after retirement as a clinical psychologist, she quickly found she was busier than ever with her church family, something she never anticipated, with small animal rescue and with active community participation in ways that address her many years of just griping about the social and political ills of the world. Our sermon today is 2023, an Optimist update. We are entering a new year, and our country seems as divided as ever. The last few years have taken their toll, and the environment is critically endangered. Our church, like many small churches, is struggling to survive. How can anyone still be optimistic? Well, it's a doable challenge. We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original people of the land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred space of several groups of Indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading for the chalice lighting is On the Brink of a New Year by Lois Van Leer. I'd like to invite you to join me in reading this together. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. Thank you, Bill. Greeting our guests. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others, and so I will now ask for a volunteer from someone who has been here for a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. We ask you to step close to the mic here in front of the pulpit and speak into it directly and clearly so everyone can hear. However, be aware that you will be visible on our Zoom camera and in the recording of this service, which is posted online. Do we have any church members today who would like to volunteer? Bill? Thank you, Bill. Please step forward to the mic, tell us your name, how long you have been here, and how you found out about our church.
I'm Bill Casey. I've been here since stripes were considered revolutionary wear for zebras. Probably, God, I think it was around 96, 86, something like that. My background is a little diverse. I grew up Episcopalian, shifted over at a certain, dabbled in Buddhism, and at a certain point discovered American-style pantheism. The idea of a multiple deity. In short, think of it as American-style Hinduism with light on the karma and better on the free will. And of course, this is a relatively small thing. They're a small group. There are not many of them in the world at large. And then I ran into this place that was advertising a drum circle. So I went, had a glorious time. But something struck me. This is the middle of like a Gothic church. Couldn't look more European if you looked at it. And going to a church where somebody looks at you and says, well, son, I may or may not agree with the way that you look at the world, but there's nothing wrong with it per se. And there's a few things, more than a few things right about it. So basically turn the lights on when you're done, make sure the doors are covered, and we're glad to have you. Like up there on that, on the earlier passages over here. It's one thing to see somebody who in principle accepts you. It's another thing to see somebody who says, not only do I accept you, but I want you to have a running start at the kind of a day and a worship service that you'd like to have. Please take some of the things you've learned, cross-hatch it with some of the things we've learned, so that maybe we can live a better life and we cover each other's weak spots, strengthen each other's strong spots, and be more a better example of what it means to be human. And it's not that they're trying to clone you, anything but clone you. they're actually enjoying that diversity and striving for something greater, just hybrid vigor, I suppose you could call it. And love is a rare enough thing in this world. Love that comes when somebody is not trying to clone themselves is very important to keep those people around you in your life. Somebody who can love you for what you are and for what you're becoming. Those are people to keep around. And I've done that for a number of years now. And I hope that wherever you go in your travels, you find that spot and that person to make you shine like the star you are.
Thank you, Bill. And that's how it's done. So if you are new here, a visitor, or an old friend, please raise your hand to stand and come up to the mic in front of the pulpit. Do we have any takers? Any new visitors? Someone in the back. Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, my name is Jen. I don't get down here as often as I would like. I live up in Big Bear, so it's a little bit of a drive, but I do pop in on the Zoom app as often as I can. I have joined or become a part of UU community to do just that, to create community with thoughtful, conscious people. I'm grateful to be here, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Margot, and I live out in the desert, Palm Springs area, and I'm with Scott Porter, and we're staying at the Mission Inn across the street. So when I drove in here yesterday, I saw this beautiful building in the Unitarian Church, and I got so excited because I used to attend Unitarian in Portland, Oregon. It's been about 10 years, I think, that I've been to a Unitarian church. So thank you so much. It's so nice to be here on New Year's Day with all of you, and blessings, and I love you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to introduce themselves? Okay. If there's someone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand and we will call on you by Zoom. Please let us know who you are, where you are from, and how you found out about us. Okay. For any other new guests, please join us for socializing and coffee hour after the service. We'd love to chat with you out in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors book. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you are here, and leave your contact information if you would like to know about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Joys and concerns. It is said that shared joy is a double joy. Shared sorrow is half sorrow. On the first Sunday of each month, we share the joys and concerns that we have received from you and which you have collected throughout the month. First, I'm going to read the joys and concerns which were given to us. Joy to see so many people come through the church during the Festival of Lights. Joy to remain fairly healthy when so many around us contend with chronic illnesses. Joy of having the holidays land on a Sunday so that many of us get to sleep in on Monday. Concern for those who are experiencing extreme weather conditions. They are in our thoughts. Concern for all of those who wait for peace and justice around the world. Joy that we may be recovering from our long drought. Concerns about moving, but joy about being so close to family once again. And I believe we have a few in our book. We have a book of joys and concerns that is available for people who'd like to write during the weeks that we do not announce. On December 4th, 2022, a concern. My daughter was diagnosed with #1 diabetes. She is 2 years old and a beautiful baby, just 7 months ago. I asked God to heal her so she can live a normal life like every other baby. And my grandmother fell and got hurt. She broke her wrist and can't walk yet. Prayers for her recovery. And there's also a request for someone who would like to have a baby. If there is anyone here in the sanctuary who would like to speak their joy or concern, please raise your hand and we will invite you to speak here at the microphone. Bill?
As I too often do, or maybe not often enough, I pray for those who are the first responders. It's a broken world. There are people who move towards the brokenness with their duct tape, with their medical kits, and they attempt to fix it. And they've been doing it for a very long time. And I wish them strength, renewal, and solidity.
Is there anyone online who would like to speak to a joy and concern? Okay. We place a stone in our water chalice to represent.
Yes, yes, I want to speak. Can Pat speak?
Hey, stop. Let's go back. There's someone online.
Hi there. I'm Pat, and I have COVID, so I can't come to church. But I'm getting better. I would just remind everybody, if you get COVID, see if you can get the Paxlovid, because I got really sick with it, and now I'm better. Anyway, joy is that Stephen is home. That's just so exciting. I'm so glad for Robert and for all of us to have Stephen back in the community. And I want to hold up the deputy that was shot. That's just terrible. We need to figure out, I'm sorry, I'm just emotional. We need to figure out a way to support our police. It is not right that the police in our communities feel under threat and under siege and have such low morale. They are doing God's work. And it is not easy, and we need to support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Maybe one ad. Let's keep our eyes open. There are people who are hurting that we don't realize are hurting that bad. So one of the things to do is to help take care of them if their hearts are breaking, so that they can stand strong as well.
Thank you, Bill. We place a stone in our water chalice to represent the joys and concerns we have shared with our church community, and in recognition of those we hold close and have not shared. May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts.
Smooth for our joys, rough for the spots in life.
Our hymn now is number 112, Do You Hear, from the Gray Hymnal. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but again, with your masks on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing number 112, Do You Hear?
Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the green, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear, through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush? Do you hear in the hush of your soul, hear the cry, fear won't still, hear the heart's call to will, hear a sigh, startling trill, in your soul, from the place where you stand to the outermost strand. Do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear all the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers? They are yours, mine and theirs. Do you hear, Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place, in the space, where the sky, through the sky? Do you hear, in the heights, in the height, on the plain, in the vale, in the sun, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear?
This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may also contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is shown here, as well as on the church website and in the letter. Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage for free. In the absence of Dinah Rowe, who usually handles this, we'll have Bill Rowe. Please see Bill Rowe if you're interested in purchasing a Stater Brothers card. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity, and to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, from the Gray Hymnal. Again, please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but with your masks on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together
Our meditation today is by Kate Lohr. Great Spirit of life, as the new year begins, we turn inward to reflect about the state of our lives. What lessons have we learned in the past year, and which new ones now call us forward? To whom do we still owe an apology or an expression of thanks? And with whom must we draw fresh boundaries? As we pause from our regular rhythms of rush, 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 we open ourselves to new perspectives and possibilities. We give thanks for these moments and for the wisdom they afford us. May they help bring us together in the sacred dynamics of life so that we, as individuals and as members of this community, might reach our full potential. As we step across this threshold, let this new year be a year of greater awe and gratitude, of deeper kindness and acceptance, and more courageous acts of conviction. For a kinder, more equitable, and sustainable world is not only possible, she is on her way. And in the quietness of this sacred community, we can ever hear her breathing. Amen. Now let us pause for a moment of silence and reflection. Now, I would like to introduce Bonnie McFarland, who will be speaking to us on 2023, an Optimist update. Bonnie?
The ritual of swapping the laptops. Yes, thanks. Sure. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. It's another year with endless possibilities. Do you expect things to get better, or do you expect things to get worse? We have choices to make about our own lives and how we choose to impact those around us, or not. We're living in a time of great divisions, of fractures that seem to threaten the fabric of our society because of differences perceived in how we understand our connections and obligations to the environment and to each other. These fractures can be found within many of our families, our work environments, our social, governmental, political, and even religious institutions. Sometimes it seems just too much, too overwhelming, hopeless. Some people try to tune it out, don't listen to the news, drop out of church or social groups, limit their exposure to opposing points of view. Others try to get more involved, persuade others, find ways to have an effect. Now, I've been a die-hard political junkie, and even I found myself turning off the news. Good people may differ and sometimes feel the strain in their relationships that they don't know how to bridge. It can be especially difficult at this time of year when we are told we should be looking forward to the new year, making resolutions to make our lives better, richer. Few people actually accomplish their resolutions, but the exercise does help us contemplate a brighter future. So what do good, well-meaning people do? What can we as Unitarian Universalists offer to this conversation? First, let us think about why we come here to this church. We are a diverse group and we come for a variety of reasons. Some have told me they come to be close to like-minded others. Some because they know they can be themselves and feel safe and secure. Still others come because they feel challenged to think anew about things in keeping with our 7 principles. Many say they come because of our focus on social and environmental justice. And others are just curious, or they're taking a class and have to write a paper. For the latter, we hope to dispel some stereotypes and enrich their perspectives. The outside world often seems overwhelming, and sometimes it reaches into these very walls. So I want to consider some alternatives, some alternate ways of looking at things. Is the world really more fractured now than before, or is it our perspective? There have been some studies done in social psychology on whether people tend to look at the proverbial glass as half full or half empty. In one of a series of experiments, the researchers told 2 groups of people about a new surgical procedure. Group 1 was told it had a 70% success rate, and they said they liked it. Group 2 was told that it had a 30% failure rate. They didn't like it. Then Group 1 was told they could think of that 30% failure rate. They could think of it as a 30% failure rate, and they decided they didn't like it. Group 2 was told they could think of it as a 70% success rate, but they didn't change their minds. So Group 1 shifted to the negative, while Group 2 was unswayed in their negative opinion. Another in this series, they told 2 groups there'd been an outbreak of an unusual disease and 600 lives are at stake. Group 1 was asked, if 100 lives are saved, how many will be lost? Group 2 was asked, if 100 lives are lost, how many will be saved? So everybody has to calculate the same. 600 minus 100 is 500. But Group 1 on average took 7 seconds to answer, whereas Group 2 took 11 seconds. Not a lot, but statistically significant and consistent with the other experiments. It means Group 2 had to work a little harder to focus on the number saved than they did on the number lost. The researchers concluded that our view of the world tends to tilt toward the negative. It's pretty easy to go from good to bad, but harder to go from bad to good. So they said, we have to work harder to see the upside of things. And I think that's true. Whether it's politics, environmental, racial, or other societal issues, I hear a lot about how the country has never been more divided, pitting us against each other as groups, even within families. I hear people saying our nation won't survive, our democracy won't survive, our church won't survive, the world itself won't survive. My stock answer to our country's survival is to observe that we survived an actual civil war. The divisions at that time pitted brother against brother, as it does now, but they were armed. And certainly Congress was not immune. But unlike today's sniping and shaming efforts, different opinions could be even more deadly back then. In 1856, Massachusetts Senator Charles Sumner spent 5 hours on the Senate floor denouncing the Kansas-Nebraska Act, a compromise bill that left the fate of slavery in those territories to be decided by a popular vote. Sumner described Senator Butler of South Carolina, a leading supporter of the bill, in disparaging terms. 2 days later, Congressman Butler, a cousin of Senator Butler, entered the Senate chamber and beat Sumner so severely over the head with a walking stick that he nearly died. Between 1830 and 1860, At least 80 violent incidents were recorded within the congressional chambers or nearby dueling grounds. And yet the nation survived, banned slavery, passed civil rights legislation. Lots of work yet to do, but we have come a long way. We will survive this. I'm an optimist by nature, but it isn't easy. It's a choice. Let's look at the reality of some of the things that we worry about. As American columnist Franklin Pierce Adams said, nothing is more responsible for the good old days than a bad memory. So true. For most of human history until about 1900, average global life expectancy was about 30 years. In the richest countries in 1900, it was about 50. Most of us would be dead by those standards. The current life expectancy for the world in 2022 was 72.98 years. That's for the world, a 0.27% increase from 2021, and that's during a worldwide pandemic. The murder rate in medieval Europe was 30 times what it is today. Globally, the percentage of armed forces personnel as a percentage of the total labor workforce has substantially declined since the Cold War. According to the World Bank, it has dropped from 1.2% in 1995 to 0.8% in 2019. Even the best of us can despair over environmental issues. In an article by Al Gore, his final paragraph read, "Nonetheless, there is a great momentum behind sustainability. A new generation of consumers is demanding greener and more ethical products. Businesses and investors alert to this shift will reap the benefits and will be engines of change." So if Al Gore hasn't given up, let's go back to perception. Progress doesn't mean everything is okay now. It means it's better than it was, and if we clearly understand the problem, we can continue to improve things. Amir Locke, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, Eric Garner. One interesting side effect of the pandemic over the last few years is that many people were home with the time to watch the videos of these killings and to think about it. These names remind us of the painful series of Black men, women, and children killed by the police in unwarranted circumstances. For many white Americans, it may seem like a new wave of horrific events. But for African Americans, it's clearly not. Not so long ago, far worse atrocities were not uncommon and were even sanctioned by law and cultural norm. But building on years of civil rights legislation and changes in our culture, along with the growth of mass media, these events are getting national and even international attention. And pressure is forcing change, albeit slower than we'd like. But progress, nevertheless. So why do we focus on the negative? The fault of the news outlets? Do you think they'd stay in business if they reported on all the bad things that didn't happen? Headline, Greenland has never been at war. Would you forward that? The human brain is constantly bombarded with information. Because our brains have limited computing power, they have to separate what is important from what's mundane. The lion charging versus the pretty butterfly. Fluffy clouds and animal poop we're about to step into. Survival is the most important information. So most of what enters the brain, most of that enters the brain through the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for primal emotions like rage, hate, and fear. Information relating to those primal emotions gets our attention first because the amygdala is always on the outlook for something to fear, that which is of great immediate danger to survival. You might conclude pessimists survived the lion's charge, the optimists got eaten. But I'd posit something else. One definition of optimism is to anticipate the best possible outcome. To do otherwise, why try? Lay down, let the lion dine. He probably has a family to feed too. You can't win anyway, right? But by anticipating the best possible outcome, you can perceive possibilities, figure out options. Notice the rock next to the log that you're about to step on and throw it at the lion. So what to do other than give up? There's another body of research that shows we can retrain our minds to look for the positive, to not accept things at face value. We've long been told we should practice gratitude. Oh, you should be grateful. Well, there's a body of research such as that from UC Davis that shows just taking a few minutes out of each day to write what you're grateful for can dramatically boost your levels of happiness and even your health. You can also rehearse good news and share it with others. We think misery loves company, that we'll feel better if we just talk about how bad our day was, and we may forget to share the good. And yet, that's exactly what our minds need. In many of our groups here at UUCR, we start by sharing something about how we're doing. How often do you choose to say nothing? I'll pass. Or we only share something to complain about. When we do that, we build gullies, not bridges. That doesn't build community, and it doesn't help us or anyone else. What if we make an effort to share something good that happened? It doesn't have to be something big. Imagine sitting in one of the committee meetings here, and after two people say, nothing to report, another says, I'm hoping to get back to work soon. And then someone says, as I was walking this morning, thinking some dark thoughts, I saw the most beautiful butterfly. A small thing sometimes can change our perspective. Whether here or in the larger community, our expectations have large effects. Somebody snaps at you and you snap back, and you both feel bad and angry for the rest of the day and pass it on to others. What if you forgave that person? What if you assumed they snapped because they were having a terrible day before you got there, and you respond with kindness? Break the cycle. You never know what shore the ripples of your actions may land upon, for good or for ill. Our minds may be built to look for negative information, to hold on to it, but we can also retrain our minds if we put some effort into it. After all, what have we got to lose? Meditation, even 5 minutes a day, gratitude lists, actively looking for the half-full side. What have you got to lose? I want to take a brief look at the effects of the pandemic on the church. Attendance and membership at our church and many others worldwide has declined over the past few years. According to a report on Money Watch, the coronavirus hit at a time when already fewer Americans were going to worship services. The pandemic didn't change those patterns, it only made them worse. For example, at Biltmore Baptist in North Carolina, attendance numbers at weekly services are down from about 70 pre-pandemic to just about 25 today, counting both in-person and online worship. let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. It appears giving to the church has also declined, with smaller churches being hit so hard, many have gone out of business. Now, here's an interesting bit of research conducted in March 2022. We need to be asking ourselves why someone would want to come back to our church. Why do we keep fighting? We've weathered tough times before in the nearly 142 years of our existence here in Riverside. I firmly believed, have always believed, that we will only fail if we accept failure. Rebuilding is going to be very tough post-pandemic, here or anywhere else, but we need two things to start. We have to find ways to get new people to know we're here, to step inside for some reason, and we need to find a way to make them feel welcomed, cared about as individuals, give them reasons to want to come back. We need those younger people, the idealists who are going to change the world, to see us as allies. Every once in a while, I hear something about a UU church on the news. Recently, I heard about a UU church joining with other groups to help refugees get asylum in this country. Another recent mention was of UUs working on access to abortion. We have been involved with many civil rights causes. In almost every one of these cases, we joined with other groups to work on a cause. On December 15th, last month, the Pasadena Unified School Board voted unanimously to approve Resolution 2690, recognition of global climate emergency and urgency to take local action to source 100% carbon-free energy by 2030. This was a hard-fought victory by more than 20 local nonprofits, including, per the newspaper article, Arroyo Seco Foundation, Throop Unitarian Universalist Church, local chapters of the NAACP, the Sierra Club, and the League of Women Voters. We, our little church, will thrive to the extent we are able to reunite with the larger community to accomplish the goals we talk about and value so dearly. We must not give in to the dark thoughts, the hopelessness. That's a dead end. We can and must be a vital part of the future, as we have always been. Finally, I want to quote the Reverend Tom Shade, a benediction often used in our services, but one that is near and dear to my heart. So I offer this not as a benediction, but a prayer. There's a power at work in the universe. It works through human hands, but it was not made by human hands. It is a creative, sustaining, and transforming power, and we can trust that power with our lives and with our ministries. It will sustain us whenever we take a stand on the side of love, whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk. Trust in that power. We are together held by that power. Thank you. And now the changing of the laptops. Mm-hmm.
So before we move on to our next hymn, let's just take a moment to meditate on the past year. And you don't have to come up and speak, but if you could just raise your hand and name a quality that you'd like to focus on for the next year to make it better. So I can start. I'd like to focus on mindfulness. Anyone else? Bill?
Polishing up old gifts that you had. General politics.
Okay. I'm not sure how to sum that up in one word, but okay. Renewal. Anyone else? Travis? Heart? Art. Okay, Jean? Forgiveness. Anyone else? A quality they'd like to work on in the next year. Kate? Patience. Good one. All of us. Anyone else? Sandra? Health. Good one, health. Anyone else? Make more of an effort. Nice. Bill? Sorry? Humor, yes. Humor, yes. Optimism, right? Optimism. Okay, are we good? That's it? Yes, okay, thank you all for that. And now Wei Lin can come back up. Our closing hymn is number 1028, Fire of Commitment from the Teal hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but with your masks on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing number 1028, Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of the living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing your valuable time and insights with us this morning. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. For those of you who would like to stay in the sanctuary for 10 to 15 minutes for questions or to share some discussion or observations from the service, please remain in the sanctuary or online. And also be aware that these comments will be posted online. For the rest of you, you are now welcome to adjourn into the parish hall.
Anybody have any thoughts they want to share? Bill?
Since one of the things that's probably going to happen in the new year is I'm going to end up on that pulpit a bit more. I had a question You had, when you would quote numbers and then you would have something encouraging to say as befits the subject matter of the day. I guess I'm asking about percentages. When you have an element of the scientific numbers behind something, how long do you, personally in your writing, how many minutes do you go on the numbers before you shift on over to something based more on the core of optimism, like why not let the lion finish his meal? How do you figure that out? Because I've got to do that myself, because I fall in love with the numbers, but I also know that the eyes will glaze over sometimes. And I'd rather that to stay tight.
I'm not sure entirely how to answer that one. Let me say this. Many people really benefit, and I was taught, as probably all of us were in school, to, before you write something, you make an outline. That never worked for me. I always wrote it and then made my outline because the teacher wanted to see it. But what I've learned is to edit and reread and re-edit and read it out loud and think about what it's going to sound like and edit some more. So if you know that you've got a bunch of statistics and numbers in there, in reading it out loud and picturing being up here, you start thinking about what to edit and how to reframe. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else?
I thought of one of the improvements over time is the end of dueling. If any of you are fans of the PBS show Poldark, it's shown there vividly. Now for a light note, when I moved from North Idaho, where it's rarely sunshiny except for maybe 2 months in the summer, I moved into a fourplex here, and I was amazed how it was sunny nearly every day. I'd come out and I would say, another sunny day. And this lady who was born in California, who was living the fourplex, she said, stop that. I said, but it is a happy, wonderful day. And she said, if you were on the moon, what would it be like? And I said, I guess there'd be sunshine every day. And she said, get over it. So some people try their best to be negative, or else I think our minds tend to go from happiness to a set point where we just barely tolerate. I mean, how can you explain year after year people go to Costco, overbuy on, say, a large screen or a larger resolution TV, and in 2 or 3 years, they're back there again buying another one. Now, if it didn't make them happy beyond the first 2 months after Christmas, why do they keep buying it? I'll sometimes probe some of these people. I'll say, why do you do it? You know, this one person said, it's time. The screens are bigger now. And I said, but the television content is exactly the same. So why should you do? They said, because. Thank you.
Thanks. Grace.
So to piggyback on what Walt was saying about the sunshine in California. So I moved to New York for a couple of years when I was maybe 25. And it was the first white Christmas that I ever had after coming from California. And I was so happy that I ran out into the snow and just was like, radiating happiness. And people would pass me on the street and say, what is wrong with you? It's bitter cold. What is wrong with you? Get back in your house. So there you go. Everything is relative.
I moved here from Michigan, and I remember that fall, the first day it rained, and I ran out into the streets. It's raining.
Not to get too empathic about the whole thing, but there's this element when you're you catch somebody being crabby along the way, and they're trying to squash that mood down immediately. And one of the things to respond with is you got to realize that humans are slightly telepathic as a species, but in general we suck at it. It's like watching an albatross. You can say great glide ratio, but you have to talk about the way they land and take off. God awful. To be a human on planet Earth is to be a slightly crappy telepath. Our empathy goes out a little bit ways, but we can read it wrong to begin with. And so occasionally having a few tart, pithy, optimistic phrases along the way is sometimes really good ammo for these walking wet blankets. You can say something like, I hereby give permission for this day to be a good one, even if you don't. Or, oh, you're not using your good day? I'll take your slice. That makes them defensive, want to hold on to it. And then based on their own pure crabbiness, they will continue to hold on to, that fraction of a good day, saying, well, I'm not going to do anything with this good day, but damned if I'll let him have it. Little things like that you can build with.
Okay, yes.
Hi, this is Pat. Am I on? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to say I grew up in Baltimore where it snowed sometimes and was cold. And then I moved to Boston where it was awful and there were blizzards and there were northeasters and I hated it. And I went to Guam on a project and it was February and I got to Guam and I said, you mean winter is optional? And I have not lived in winter since. No, winter's crazy, sorry. Snow is to visit.
Anybody else?
Nick has his hand up. Nick.
Hello,
Somebody.
this is Nick, Universalist Unitarian. Thank you. I want to thank Bill for once more clarifying things for me. And say, Bonnie, that was a very good sermon and I enjoyed it. And it was very well done. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Nick. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. And Please join us next door for some coffee and snacks and some conversation.